Reality star and singer Moniece Slaughter from the popular reality show Love and Hip Hop was spotted speaking on how she is raising her son and the importance of gentle parenting. She also kept it real about her daily struggles of dealing with anxiety in her new upcoming show.
You would look at a like me and how I behave on reality television, and you would think to yourself, who raised this? Lo and behold, I come from money, born into money, and everyone in my family is uber successful. Grew up in a 2-parent household. Yeah, I have mommy issues, but I don't have daddy issues. And they both raised me. But when you look at me, you think, oh, she didn't have a dad. Meanwhile, my dad is in my heart, biggest disciplinarian, and it was my mother. But you'd think I didn't have either, right? So then there are those scenarios where, you do have people whose mom, kept secrets or made excuses, and that's all too common in our community. You have this whole do as I say because I said to do it. I don't need to explain anything to you. I'm the adult. And that's not healthy. My son is absolutely allowed to tell me when he thinks I'm tripping. My son is absolutely allowed to tell me when I've hurt his feelings. Even when we're joking. I don't know if you guys remember a few years back during the panoramic, I was joking with Cam and I said I couldn't wait for schools to open back up because he was driving me crazy, and I was finna put him on the curb with a free 99 sign and wait for a nice white Jewish family to adopt him. And when I said it like 2 or 3 times, his eyes filled up with tears. I don't know who remembers this. And he was like, I don't like when you joke like that. It hurts my feelings. And I was like, oh my God, my poor baby. And he got up and he came in and hugged me, and I ended the live. And we had a real conversation. My son, even though he knew I was joking, was really affected by the thought of me even saying I would give him away. Like, he was really impacted by that. And when I heard him out, it made total sense. I don't live by that. My son has never been hit by me, ever. He's been popped in the mouth one time because he said, he got mad at me and told me if he could, he would kick me in my until I fell back into the TV and I was electrocuted till he was like 4 or 5. And my dad would sit on the couch. My dad said, oh. And I didn't do anything right away. And then he said it again, and I got mad and I popped him in the mouth. And it was my dad that said, that's it? I said, yeah, I don't believe in spanking. And my dad said, come here, little buddy. Now, I'm at your house, and so your mom's rules are what goes. But I'll tell you what, you can be mad at your mom. You can even have a temper tantrum. But what you can't do when Pappy's sitting right here, you can never disrespect your mom like that. Now, if it were up to me, I would have spanked you till your legs fell off. But see, even that, my dad told me when I was younger, he would spank me so hard my legs would fall off and I'd have to walk around for the rest of my life. Literally. So telling my son, if it were up to you, he would get a spanking so hard that his legs would come off and he'd be walking around on his booty cheeks, is crazy. But his point was, if it were up to me, I would have tore that up. But because I'm at your mom's, her rules are what stick. But if you were at Pappy's house, your mom wouldn't have been able to save you from the whooping, essentially. But I personally just don't believe in that. I believe in paying attention to our children and who they show us they are. Not who they're telling us they are. Not who they say they want to be. Or not who we want them to be. Because I expressed to my parents outside of therapy, y'all were so busy focusing on molding me into who you wanted me to be that you didn't pay attention to who I was actually showing you I was. So, for instance, an example of that is I was never that little girl that sat in my room and fantasized about her wedding day. Ever. I always knew I wanted to do something in the arts. I loved interior design. I loved fashion design. I loved music. I loved art. I did not like school. I did not like anything that required a rigorous, very strict schedule. I knew I couldn't maintain that. I didn't like anything that required me to have a certain image, because I knew I did not like girly clothes. I knew I didn't like getting my hair done. I knew I didn't like tags in my shirt. I knew that I never wanted to be the mom when we played house. I didn't want to be the dad, but I knew I didn't want to be the mom, because the mom has to get, I said I never wanted kids. So I knew very early on, and that's why I give my son all the credit in the world. He is naturally driven. He knows what it's going to take for him to get it, and he's not going to let anything stop him. When that boy is tired, when he's sick, he wants to go to training. I don't possess that type of discipline, even about things that I'm passionate about. I just don't have it in me. My brain, I get too anxious, and my son is extremely anxious, but ironically, his anxiety is centered around his goals. My anxiety is centered around day-to-day tasks. I have anxiety when I know I have to shower, as crazy as that seems, because I just feel like the shower is taking away from my sleep. I get anxiety when I know I have to cook, because cooking makes me hot. I don't like the preparation. I don't like cleaning up. I get anxiety when I'm driving, because I don't like it. Anything I don't like gives me anxiety. I have anxiety around traveling. I don't like it. Once I get to work, I'm fine. Once I sit down for my hair, I'm fine, but I'm not fine, because it takes too much time out of my day. So I would rather look crazy while I've had this weave in my head for 2.5 months? I'd rather look crazy for 2.5 months than sit down and get my hair done, which only takes 2.5, 3 hours. As that correlates and relates to the show concept, it's just very interesting to me to see how some of that is inherent. My son is naturally riddled with anxiety. Yeah, I have anxiety just around any and everything I don't like. I have anxiety when I know I have to. Prime example, this is why I don't do interviews. And that's why when I do an interview, they go, I tried to look up other interviews so I kind of get a feel, but I don't find many. They were like, I can't really find them. Yeah, because I don't like them. I don't like them because they give me anxiety. Because I think I'm coming to talk about work, projects, promote my, and I get there and y'all ambushing me with all kinds of shit that I don't give a out. And so at that point, now I don't like it. I already don't like people. I have social anxiety, to be exact. So my contracts, that's why I didn't really do a lot of hostings either when I was popping, because that gives me anxiety to be in a crowd of people that I cannot control. I don't know how you're going to react. And I get anxiety around just leaving the house. And it's because I feel this innate need, intense need to control my environment. So I cannot control when I leave the house how someone's going to talk to me. I don't have enough self-control to be able to like not smack fire out you if you make me mad enough, if that makes sense. So it's like I get anxiety when I get in the car because I can't control how somebody else drives. And after I lost my cousin to a car accident on the same road that I had my car accident, almost 6 months to the date, one of my worst fears is dying in a car accident. My family having to go through that, my son having to go through that. So I can't control how other people drive. I can't control the traffic. And so the reason that I developed this show was because, and I developed it the way that I did, was because this is so common. It is so common. Like I said, you look at people and you go, who raised you? You would look at me and think I was raised by a pack of barbarians. But then on one hand, people are like, oh, you're so articulate. You're so smart. You're so well spoken. Okay, well, that's because I wasn't raised by a pack of barbarians. I had some of the best education. I grew up in an affluent white neighborhood. Born, raised, still live. Will never leave. I had a core friend group from first grade until I was like a sophomore or junior in high school of white friends. I have a family full of doctors, lawyers, therapists, singers, songwriters, producers. No one in my family, for the most part, is a failure. So failure was never an option. So it goes either way. Like, you look at the baddies and you go, who raised you? Yeah. And in some cases, you have a mother like Mariah Lynn's mom. right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, what did we expect? Right. But then at the same time, it's also holding these grown kids accountable, because you could be raised by a crackhead, you could be raised by an alcoholic. I saw a post and it said, I spoke to two brothers.
One was alcoholic,
and they were raised by the same dad in the same house, and their dad was an alcoholic. One brother went on to be mega successful. The other brother turned out to be an alcoholic. When I asked the successful brother how he became so successful, he said, I watched my dad. When you ask the brother who became an alcoholic how he became an alcoholic, he said, because I watched my dad. They grew up with the same, stressors of having an addict as a parent. But one looked at that and said, I want nothing to do with being like that. And the other, whatever his genetic, because alcoholism is a disease, addiction is a disease, the other succumbed to the disease and didn't do the work that it took to not be that. And so he became exactly like his dad. That's a real thing. And it's interesting when you hear other family members' perspectives, and they could all have the same experiences, and their outcome in life is totally different. But that's a choice. And a lot of my struggles in life, I brought on myself. I had to really get real with myself in trauma therapy about how many of my circumstances I created for myself. And that's not to say that there weren't times where my parents were being ridiculous. There were tons of times where my parents were ridiculous. All of these things shaped me. But at some point, I have to take accountability and go, okay, am I just going to wallow, or am I going to figure it out, fix it, and move on? So I had to get to the root of what might actually be generational, what might actually be circumstantial. Was I physically abused as a child? By definition of abuse, I think every Black person was abused. Yes. Whooped till you had whelps. Then physically abused though, like getting hit with switches, getting hit with rulers, getting hit with belts. And then you're actually in physical pain and you're crying, and it's stop crying or give you something to cry about. Hold it out, don't flinch. What do you mean don't flinch? To whip the skin off my palms. That's actually that's abuse. Fathers punching on their sons because they think that's discipline. You better start punching on him now, because when he's and Cam's dad said that to me. I said, let me tell you something. You punch my son, and I'm punching on you. And if I can't punch on you, I got somebody that will. I'm gonna tell you how my family realized spanking Cameron was going to be counterproductive. Cam was like 2.5. You know those water coolers that stand on the floor and you go up and you press the lever? Mm-hmm. Cam kept going up to the thing and pressing. There was no cup, and he kept doing it. I thought it was cute. Yeah. He's discovering his whatever. Yes. Well, my dad told him to stop. And quickly I realized some of Cam's mannerisms. So telling him to stop, and he's looking at you, and then he's looking at the water cooler, and I said, oh, he's going to go back.
Yeah, he was curious.
So he went back. And it was the more my dad told him not to go back, the more he wanted to go back. He called him little buddy. He said, little buddy, Pappy's going to have to spank you if you go back. So Cam looked at the cooler, looked at my dad, got off the couch. And I went to go get him, and my dad said, stop, let me see what he's going to do. And I said, well, we know he's going to go to the cooler, so why would I let him go to the cooler? And you're threatening to spank him, he's 2. My dad's like, let's just see. And he goes to the cooler, and he looks at the couch, and he looks at the cooler, and he looks at the couch, and he says, and presses the button while looking my dad dead in the face. So I'm like, oh, God. So I went to hop over the couch to pick my baby up because I don't want him to get a whooping. My dad popped Cam on the hand and said, no, I told you to stop. Cam looked at his hand and looked at my dad. My dad went to go sit back down. Cam walked around the couch. And when Cam sat up on the couch, he looked at my dad's hand and he popped my dad back. And I said, oh.
That's what he understood.
So that right then told us he's not going to respond well to physical discipline.
Yep, he gonna, yeah.
And it's crazy because y'all, the live is still up on my page. I don't know if anybody remembers the story where my dad said we had all gotten in trouble. And of course, I was like the ringleader. And my dad tried to take a different approach before he whooped us. And he said, you messed up and somebody has to pay the price. Me or you. Jesus paid the price for all our sins. Yeah. He died on the cross. So either you guys can get the spanking, take your punishment, or I can take the spanking. I'll take your spanking. So he said, my brother started to cry and was like, no. So my brother took his spanking. My dad said, I looked at him and said, Give me the belt. And my dad said I went to town. And my mom said she was outside the door, but when she came out, she asked my dad how did it go. And she said he looked at her and said, Moniece beat my ass. She spanked me. Because in my mind, why would I take the spanking? You're giving me a way out.
Right. I'm gonna take the way out.
I'm taking the way out. And I get to whoop you? Oh, I want my lick back.
Look what Cam getting.
I missed the whole message there. And I was just like, oh, I get to spank this. Bet. Give me the belt. He said I was full wailing on him just any which way I could. He said he was shocked. You said, you gave me the option. You would take my spanking. So if you give me that option at 7, 8 years old,
Here you go.
I'm spanking you.
I ain't understanding what you're talking about. I want you to take that.
I want you to take the spanking.
Yeah.
And you know, at 7, 8, I'm thinking I'm doing something. I'm about to hurt you. Because every time you spank me, my feelings are actually more hurt. Like, even though the spanking hurts, I'm emotional. So my feelings tend to hurt more than the act itself. I think what I was trying to do was
Make him feel
how it felt.
That's exactly how we do it.
And apparently, his feelings were hurt.
Look, mission accomplished.
Because he brings it up to this day. He's mad about it to this day. I'm like, bro, how are you mad at me? I was 7, 8 years old. I'm 37. It's been 30 years.
30 years later.
30 years later, and you are still talking about how I whooped you.
But you didn't like it. It's a problem when I do it.
It's cool when you do it. It's a problem when I do it. So it's like, all of these things, I really want to start uncovering who raised y'all for real.
Goddess Vision TV. Celebrating feminine energy. Thanks for watching.